All right, so we're here at Tom Fanning at where are we? Gateway, right? I
Gateway
always I always get these things confused now that the other place is shut down and
show place, right?
everybody merged here. And if you're not from Jersey, they're all the same, right?
Pretty much.
Well, have
Pretty
you
much.
always been here?
I have been here for 24 years.
24 years in this barn?
Yes, in this barn. Yeah.
And why this farm? Why this barn?
This barn has just happened. They put me here when I first came in, and this farm because my oldest daughter was going to a preschool about a mile away from here.
Okay.
So every afternoon when I got done, I'd pick her up. So it was just very convenient.
Okay. So that worked out for you then,
Yeah,
right?
it did.
Did
Yeah.
you always just have like how many horses do you have right now?
There's 24.
24, that's pretty much been the general number over the years?
No, we started. I think I came here with 5 or 6, and
Okay.
it's gradually. I'd say
Gotten more.
the last 6, 7 years, it's been that many.
Okay, do you want that many?
If they're good.
If they're good. How old are you?
I'm 59.
59. So, but yeah, normally people are kind of going the opposite when they start getting a little, you're adding more.
Well, we have college loans to
There
pay,
we go. I was going to say, yeah. We
so that
got them
puts
to
a
pay
that
off. Moira's
yes,
got to work some overtime a little more, right?
exactly. She could work a little more.
How has things been since she got her big time promotion? She's big time now.
She is.
She's really just, she's insufferable to work with now. Her head is just so huge.
It
How is
is.
she at home to work with? She just
She's okay.
she's okay. You guys, since is it some people like having family involved in the business? She's obviously in the business with the Hamiltonian Society. So how has that been
It's
working? Like she knows the business. Sometimes it's like I just want to get away from it. Do you guys? How is that relationship wise?
it works out well. It's good, to have someone that you can, talk to and trust that understands,
What's
how the
going
business.
on?
Yeah, she actually gets a little bit more upset than I do after some bad drives, or
Yes,
she's, you
she's
know,
defensive,
yeah, she's well protective.
protective. Yes,
She gets upset with the drivers when they don't
yes.
do the right thing by us, and I always tell her, we'll try next week or whatever. But
Right. She takes off her Hamiltonian hat and puts on the wife hat, and
exactly,
that
yeah.
hat goes on real quick.
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Goes-
does.
goes on.
It's good that she understands the hours and the phone calls at the odd times or
Mhm.
having to work on Mother's Day or
Mhm. It's coming
so
up.
I know.
What'd you get her? You don't
Uh,
have to. Spoiler alert.
maybe a couple of winners. That's
Okay. Oh, that's good enough for
yeah.
her.
Yes,
Does she? Do you guys enjoy like going to the races together outside of the
it,
horses?
we do. You know what we kind of like we drove up to Vernon when we were in the Sire Stakes up there or
Okay.
Tioga or Saratoga. You know, going like to Yonkers or that's kind of like work. But we
Sure.
get to go on little road trips. That's always nice.
Okay. So I mean, been doing this a long time. You've had all sorts of horses, right?
Hmm.
Young, older, trotters, pacers, fillies.
Right.
Is there any sort of that you like to gravitate towards?
I think now I kind of like the older trotters. My guys are not going to buy trotting yearlings. It's just
Okay.
too risky for them,
Okay.
and they only buy 4 or 5 a year. So they're not, But if we can, like, I've had luck picking out 2 or 3 year old trotters
Okay.
out of the Harrisburg sale and racing them, and they've done well for us.
So is that just you just breaking babies is just that's a different game, different mentality you got to have, right?
Yes, without a doubt, and with the, I like the babies. We always get pacing babies, and we've done pretty well with them. But with trotting babies, like I said, it's higher risk, less
Hmm.
percentage ever make the races, and it's hard because there's a select few guys I think that are getting the top bred trotters,
Sure.
and one they can pay for them, which we can't, so that works in their favor.
Yeah.
But it's hard, you're kind of, you're not getting the cream of the crop, so.
Yeah. So you would rather just, hey, I'll spend a little more if I have to on a what's the word I'm looking for? Defined trotter.
Exactly.
Like
That's
you like them, you just don't want to take the like. I'll spend a little bit more money if I got to buy a nice season 2 or 3 year old trotter that's
right.
done something.
That's exactly right. I have my one owner, Joe Smith from Florida. Every year, he sends me to Harrisburg, and he says, find a 2-year-old pacer or trotter, but we've gravitated towards the trotters now that you like,
Mm-hmm.
and he's willing to spend a little more for them
Mm-hmm.
if they can show a little ability and talent. As a 2-year-old, maybe they'll develop as 3-year-olds. And he just says buy something like that, and that's how we got like Fashion Creditor and Sumatra.
So Fashion Creditor, when did you bought him?
We bought him at Harrisburg, two turning
Two
three.
turning three.
He showed some good lines from Lexington. He was a little bit immature, didn't quite have like a racehorse mentality
Mm-hmm.
yet. But as we raced him at 3, he got better and better, and he's been very good for us. So
Why was he? Why are some of these horses sold at 2? You think is it to turn a profit for whoever, or you think that's kind of like the second tier for some of these bigger stables? Are like, listen, we know we have the A tier,
right.
and that's the one we're going for the Hambo,
I think
and
it's both of those
little both,
things. Yep,
right?
absolutely. And but Fashion Creditor and Possessed Fashion, I think, were both fit under that umbrella. They were kind of
They were just that notch below, and maybe
yeah,
they couldn't get the
right,
proper.
right. And I think Fashion Farms had horses they liked better.
Okay,
So
right, and that's what happened. So
absolutely.
they get funneled down. Now, both of those horses were in the Hambo, or one of them was.
Yeah, they
Which one?
both
Both
were.
were.
Possessed Fashion was fourth, and his limb needed to be
Need
third.
to be third. What
Didn't
happened?
get a real
Couldn't
good
stick his
steer.
nose out.
Yeah, I'd say the guy that drove him
Who
didn't
drove
quite
him?
get John Campbell. Actually, no, he drove him fine. The horse just wasn't quite good enough, and he ended up fourth when he needed to be third. And
Listen, I thought that this guy was supposed to be all magical, and he's supposed to
oh,
elevate the horse beyond what the horse is supposed
my
to do.
wife went crazy after that trip.
Oh, okay, yeah, right, right. Went crazy,
Uh, no,
J-
no, she did not. But and then also Fashion Creditor, he got beat 2 lengths in his elimination for the whole thing, but ended up like sixth and didn't get into the finals.
Did
So
you buy them at 2, hoping for Hambo a limb? Like, were you kind of like, I think maybe they could do that,
I would say we bought them really hoping they'd be very competitive in the sire stakes,
make some money,
and
and
anything after that would be a plus.
kind of a long-term deal. You've had them a couple years
Yeah,
now, so
yeah,
the
yeah.
whole plan is to, when you buy a nice trotter like that, is to have them for 4, 5, 6 years. Race them at some of the circuit. We're close to Yonkers, Meadowlands, Philly, all that, where you can make some money and have them for a couple years, right?
Right, and I think the trotters have a tendency to stay better longer. The
Sure.
pacers just got to go so hard right
Yeah.
from the get go. It's hard to keep a pacer around that's going to stay at that elite level
Sure.
for because they just have. I mean, they're like the foiled again is a literally
One in a million.
one.
Yeah.
Right,
Once in a
yeah,
lifetime horse. Yeah.
exact. Once in 5 lifetimes,
Yeah. I mean,
maybe.
you can have a trotter, a nice trotter, make 80 to 100 a year, and
Yeah,
it's no problem 4 or 5 years in a row.
right. And you're
And
not
and
going
and,
to
it,
speed.
and you don't feel like you're killing the horse either.
Right, exactly.
You're like, okay, because paces are so competitive
Right.
that
Yep.
I mean, you could have a 52 pace on a half, and it's what is that?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
you don't know if he's an open horse or if he's a 20 claimer, right?
And I also think really the post doesn't matter as much. With trotters seem to be able to overcome the
Hmm.
outside post, so which I like also.
Yeah.
So.
So you had both of them made the Hambo limbs.
Mm-hmm.
They did pretty well,
Yeah.
and they're continuously doing well.
Yeah,
Are
they
you hitting
are.
them in some stakes races, or is it more of the, hey, we're gonna hit, condition races, hit the open here and there, things like that?
Right. Well, Possessed Fashion is now just like a mid-level condition horse, but
Okay.
he was good last year. And Fashion Creditor shows sign. He beat that Corral hand over of Burks a couple times
Hmm.
last year with tough trips. So when he's on his A game, he can trot with very very good horses. But he's more like a win is over.
Sure.
Quite in that class there. But he makes his 140 or 50 a year,
Sure.
and when he's good, he may
You're
step up.
okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine
Yeah,
with
you're
it.
fine
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
You're fine with that.
And he's an easy keeper, so.
What about some of the other older trotters you have, and some of the older pacers that you
Well,
have,
we have Sumatra,
right?
who we bought same thing, 2 turning 3, and we gave a good buck for him. The owner gave 100 for him.
Okay. How old is he now?
He's now 7,
7.
and he's made us like $500,000, and he won the Dexter Cup at 3, the Old Oaken Bucket, New Jersey Futurity.
For you guys?
For us,
For you
yeah, as
guys,
a
yeah.
3-year-old, and then 4-year-old was not quite as good, but now he's like
Yeah, he
110,
does his thing.
120 a
Again,
year.
yeah, you're okay with that. You're okay.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
do you like going on the road to these far? I'm not talking about local tracks. That's an hour or two away. I'm talking about Old Oaken Bucket, maybe up to Canada. Do you like going on those road trips? Do you send,
I
your caretakers and your group, your assistants?
I have to say we took a horse betting exchange to the North America Cup,
Okay.
and it was really they really went out of their way to treat the horsemen and the horses and the owners like you were there for a special reason. So I
Okay.
really enjoyed that. But
But that
traveling
that's a
much,
big race. What
yes.
about traveling to Canada and the Mohawk for like, a B level stakes race? If you had an Ontario sired horse and just going for the gold final, is it the same thing? Do you enjoy doing that or not as much anymore?
Not as I would say probably not as much. I enjoy really coming to the barn and being on the track every
Okay.
day. I like to. I'm usually the first one on the track in the morning for our barn, and the last one. I like that. I
You
like
like
being
that?
around the horses
Well,
and training
listen,
them.
traveling is a little bit of a young man's game.
It
Maybe
is
your assistant trainers and your caretakers.
right.
It's fun to go on the road. Road
It
trip,
is.
maybe listen, 4 nights a week is a little rough, but
It is
hey,
too
go
much.
up to Canada twice a year.
Oh, for sure, something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What about now betting exchange? You still have him?
We do, we do.
How old is he now?
He is 6,
Okay.
and he's made about 700 life. He was
Pretty good again,
Yeah,
right?
he was
Yeah.
a nice 2-year-old and came back a very good 3-year-old. He was third in the North America Cup, and he just jogged in the sire stake final at Yonkers.
How
And
was Moira that evening? She was probably just losing her mind, right? You don't seem like the type
yeah,
that very much you kind of, you don't have these spikes. You're just a chill dude. I see in the paddock all the time. You're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It is
well,
what it
I
is,
think
right?
as a trainer, you cannot get too high or too low,
Right.
and it's just how it is.
Just how it is.
You'll make yourself crazy.
Yeah.
But no, she was good then, and she made that trip with us,
Was
and
she happy finishing third, or did
very
she did
happy.
she
We
expect to
finished.
win?
No, we were in with Wiggle It and Jiggle It and Wazazaki Hanover,
Okay.
and they were a cut above
They
us.
were
But
pretty good.
yes, but
They
we were
turned.
very happy to be third, and it was like I said, they just treated us great up there, and um, but Bet and Exchange, he got very sick. We sent him to Hoosier, and he got really sick. He came back. His whole 4-year-old year he lost, and he really didn't get right for a long time. And that was last start for us. Actually, he raced fantastic, but he really has not quite been the same horse. Still a
Okay.
very good horse, but he's made his money, but he just really hasn't gotten over that. Something attacked his immune system, and you
Just a
know,
little tough when you have to be at an elite level of fitness
right,
and you can't, whether it's, hey, yeah, maybe I can go do mile in 50 or whatever, but maybe it used to be, hey, I'd take 2 days to recover. Now it takes
right,
three and a
right,
half,
right,
4. I mean, we're all getting old. We can't, go out and party like we used to. We needed
right.
that extra hour of sleep every night, less, a beer here and there less. It just, it takes its toll,
It,
right?
it does absolutely, but for him, I always hold out a little bit of hope he's going to come back to himself because every once in a while he'll show me a sign. Like glad he won on Sunday. He was what a
He won this
tough
Sunday.
this
Okay.
past Sunday,
Right.
a tough trip and raced like really like a good horse.
Pretty
So
good.
we'll
Pretty
see.
good. So what 3-year-olds do we have that are, looking forward to? Maybe that you bought it too?
We have a trotter. His name is Mississippi Storm.
Okay.
Same thing. Bought him at Harrisburg for 75.
Okay.
Showed some good lines at as a 2-year-old. So we decided, he kind of fit what we were looking for, and he just won his second start out of the box at Chester in 55. So he looks okay. He's going to do in the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes, and also we have him in the Yonkers Trot. We supplemented him
Okay.
because
Is he good on a half?
he is, and he's got good early speed, and he's just the kind of horse that could do good in that
You
race.
think he'll
Yeah.
be all right? Now, what's interesting to me is I've every single trainer has a different sort of program. It could be training, it could be business,
Right.
could be ownership partners. Uh, I think probably out of all the stuff, any field, any sport, whatever, you got to find what you're good at. You got
Right.
to zero in on that. And
Mm-hmm.
is that buying horses at two, converting them and having them, is that probably your wheelhouse that you're most successful at?
I would think that is yes, and I also think buying these moderately priced yearlings like Betting Exchange and Photo Bomber Hanover
Sure.
was a $30,000, and we seem to be able to compete, at a pretty good level with
Sure.
them. So not spending quite the money that other guys
So
might.
you don't try to go out of your realm of comfort. I mean, listen, we all know
No.
all these trainers can train every type of horse,
Right.
all that stuff. But it's just a matter of long-term success. Maybe you just veer away. How many, like, you probably don't do claimers anymore.
Right. I
Some of the other stuff.
started with the claimers and kind of got away from it, and even now the condition sheets have kind of gotten away from claimers on most of this. There's no more 50 claimers,
Sure.
or 75s,
Or
but
even 500 claimers that they
right,
used to have in the middle of.
exactly. So basically, the young ones, and he had two turn and three, just kind of develop them and race them along.
Give me a big race. Give me $100,000 race you're going to win this year with some of these horses, the older ones. Forget about the yearlings. We're not at the yearlings yet.
$100,000 horse
Yeah.
race.
I mean,
I
this
think
Mississippi.
Mississippi Storm has a shot.
Is he going to win the Yonkers Trot?
It depends on who's in there, where you draw, and
Well, I
he's
mean,
got the ingredients to be competitive. He can leave, and he likes the turns, and that will, if he draws right, you'll beat better horses than you are because you have tactical speed and have drawn right.
well, one of the things that's interesting is you get a horse like that, who you're pointing towards the Yonkers Trot, right? That's you could
Kind
safely
of,
say that.
yes.
We're starting to kind of have this road to the Hamiltonian Trail,
Mm-hmm.
where all the horses we got a top 10, whatever, all the stuff I'm doing, this and that. A lot of those horses are pointing towards the Hamiltonian, and they're
Right.
racing on big tracks. They're training on big tracks, all these things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like the Yonkers Trot is like a secondary thing for them. Not a lot of the horses are being pointed towards that. Last year, there wasn't that many horses pointed towards that
Right.
were from it's getting less and less. Hamiltonian contenders are going towards the Yonkers Trot. So is that something that you find? Is there like a small hole where you're like, yeah,
I
we
think
can go for that?
yes. I think stables like mine, you got to find that you're better off sometimes going where they're not,
Right,
and finding you're finding a niche. Yes, when you see these guys pointing towards the Hambletonian and whatnot, which you can't blame them, and maybe you think the Yonkers might come up a little bit lighter, or a lot of guys don't like racing their 3-year-olds on a half at that time of the year,
right.
So I said, it becomes a possibility. I don't think our horse is I know he's not a Hambletonian horse, but with his ability and tactics and what he does well, he could do well in the Yonkers
Yeah,
Trot.
you start to find holes where, hey, even forget about the Hambo, the road or the road after
Right,
Kentucky Futurity. Hey, where are those guys? Let's go somewhere
right,
else. On
exactly,
that week, we know we're not going to
exactly.
hit that competition.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the freshman horses you got.
Okay.
Like you said, you like to buy some pacers, right?
Right. We buy basically only pacers. We looked at a few trotters last year, but the trotters are expensive too.
Sure.
So, but we have two Sun Beach fillies um, that we gave. One we gave 37,000 for, and one I gave 24. Her name is Thompson Hanover,
Okay.
and they've both been in 2-3. They're doing okay. It's hard to tell with the Pacers because a lot of guys can train their Pacers in
Sure.
2-3, but they're sound. They require minimal vet work. So
Have you had some beach fillies before? Is this your first go around with some beach in
no, the
general?
first one I had was a photo bomber Hanover. He's a colt, a Sun Beach colt, and he turned. He got. he wasn't all the time the healthiest horse, but he turned him. He raced in the Breeders' Crown
Sure.
last year and
Yep.
stuff, so he's been uh, he's been very good. But this is the first filly I've had, and
Do
no, it's
you
second one. Second, we have a 3-year-old filly as well, Zulu Warrior Hanover.
do you point toward when you're at the sales? Do you point towards, hey, I want a certain sire because of his tendencies as a stallion, or do you point? We're in Jersey. Do you point towards, hey, I need Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey sire
Right.
stakes? Like what if you really like the sire and he moved to Indiana? Would you still buy that horse? Do you try to go new sires, older sires? What do you like?
Well, since we only buy, 4 or 5 a year, I stay away from first crop sires because you
Okay,
don't know what you're going to get.
sure.
I'd rather go with an older sire who I know. I like American Ideal. I like Better's Delight when he was in New York or
Mhm.
Pennsylvania. Um, but
Yeah,
I would,
would you buy? He's in Canada now, right?
I'd buy. I have friends up there we could send the horse to if they were Ontario sired and could race. So, yeah, I would look at an
Well,
Ontario
and
bred.
even like kind of this Grand Circuit, if you want to call it that, is becoming as lucrative, where you can buy a horse who Australian bred. You don't
Right,
have to race him in Australia stakes race. You can race
right.
him in late closers and other stakes
Oh, there's
races.
tons of money
Right.
and
So you can kind of just pick your schedule and go with what you want,
right,
right?
exactly. I do like the New York program. We've been successful on it, and there's 8 legs, which I like. So if
Hmm.
you miss a like in Pennsylvania, if you miss a leg early, you're
There's
in
four,
trouble.
right?
Right,
There's
getting to
four.
the Sire Stakes final. I've often suggested they should maybe have 6 legs, go for a little less money, but that way you can spread it out, and a guy's not under the
Hmm.
gun to get a horse ready, or a horse gets sick, right away you're behind the 8 ball. But right now we have 4 Pennsylvania breds. The colts are well said in some beach, and I think we gave 15 for the well said and 35 for the some beach. So, and he's out of a good mare, Fancy Philly, I think her name was. She made like $1 million.
And you kind of know what you're getting into, right? I mean, like
I
as
think
far as the
so.
have the tendencies all been the same? Do they all do the some beaches wear martingales, things like that? I mean, they're all
I think the some beaches, the ones I've seen, you have to protect them a little bit. They're fast. They have
all
the
fast.
key
Yes,
ingredient. It's right. They're fast. But as far as being mentally tough,
they're all little.
maybe not as
There's
mentally tough
something.
as you
There's
like.
there's usually one click somewhere off where you're like you gotta kind of maneuver them in the
Yes,
right direction.
exactly. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to do too much. I mean, they can all go, so it's very easy to train them too much because they can do it, and so you just have to be careful that way.
What would you rather have? A slower horse that tries, or a faster horse that you just gotta maneuver around?
There's no substituting for speed.
There's no substituting for
They
speed.
can be the nice horse, best mannered, but if they're not fast,
So you'll take a fast horse that's a little goofy everywhere,
right,
that gives you anxiety, whether it's and I'm not saying this about some beaches, but just in general.
right,
Hey,
sure,
maybe he sucks at shipping. Maybe he's a little hard to handle. Maybe he's a
right,
little hard-headed. Maybe he doesn't eat as well. Maybe he's tough on the track. You'd rather take that one as long as he's fast.
without a doubt. That's
Okay.
exactly how that Sumatra horse was.
Okay.
He was a total pain in the ass and still is, but but when you put him behind the gate, he makes money and
if
he's
I
loyal.
ask if I ask Moira that question, is she gonna say that Tom Fanning is a pain in the ass, but he
I
gets the
would
job done?
I would say
He's
at times, yes, she would.
okay. Like she,
Well, she would say he's a pain in the ass about getting the job done. I don't know if
okay,
she'd
well, I'm
would
just,
agree with that.
he's good at his job. He's, whatever the equivalent of fast is on the track, but he's a pain in the ass in the barn at home. He's
Right.
hard headed.
Yeah, you could say that.
You could say that. So some
But
of these,
she's no walk in the park either,
well,
though.
I'm not going to comment on that. Moira, we love Moira. That's definitive. That's it. So with some of these 2 year olds, you
Right.
were here all winter, right?
Yeah, we were here all winter, and it was. I tell you, it wasn't the coldest winter, but it was wet and erratic, and the track would freeze, it would thaw, it would rain, it would snow. So it was difficult for the farm to keep the track as you'd like it, but they did a pretty good job. And now the weather's finally broke, so
You strike me as a guy who hey, whatever it is, we're just gonna go with the flow, right? Like you can't. Do
Mm,
you have a hey, we have to be in 2.5 by this time, or we got to go by this?
no, well, that yes, the horses will tell you what they can do.
But
They'll
I'm saying if they're not, you don't strike me as a guy that's hey, if they're not, if we want to be in 2.5 tentatively by May 1st, but if they're not, it's not the end of the world.
I would say no, as long as they're showing you some talent and that it's they're going to be worth it. You can't sweat. You can't force things. That's for sure with the babies. I mean, if the track's not good, don't train on it.
Right.
And you have to wait. You have to wait. But yes, we're willing to wait on them.
In the 20 plus years winters that you've been here, I'm sure have you broken some sort of amount of yearlings all those 24 years pretty much?
Yes, probably anywhere between 5 and 8 every year.
How is this winter ranked as far as is it just a normal winter?
Yeah, it was
Just normal?
it wasn't the worst. It wasn't the best. It
Okay.
was it was the spring actually with all the snow in March and what we
Hmm.
you get to March you're thinking, all right, the weather's going to break now, and it never did. So
What's something over the last 5 years that you've altered or changed drastically, or has there been something that you, with your training regimen, how you treat the babies, anything like that?
I don't think we've trained the babies much differently. Uh, I would say some of the you know some one thing I've done the last few years is if I have a real nervous horse or a high strung horse that we're racing, I'll jog them the morning of the race,
Okay.
which we never used to do.
Okay.
And that seems to help some of them a lot. But as far as the babies, it's pretty much the same. The thing about the babies is they get, excuse me, actually easier and easier to break every year.
Well, that was going to be my next question. They're handled so much earlier,
Right.
so it makes your job easier. So you're not
Yes.
wasting a couple weeks of
Right.
just teaching them how to put the bridle on because they're already been handled. Their face has
Right.
been touched. They've been washed. I'm sure there's horses out there that you can't even wash for a couple of weeks because
Exactly.
that you got it one step at a time. For you can
Right.
let's do harnessing first, and then now it's like no, harness them, jog them, wash them. They're good. They know everything.
Yeah, absolutely. We did have a horse, Griffin Hanover, who wouldn't go into the bath stall for 5 months, and we used to hose
Hand
him off
hose them
out
off.
the window
Okay,
in February, and he would stand out there and
and just it is what it is,
did it.
right?
Now he goes in, but yeah, he was funny that way, but he was gonna hurt himself if we kept forcing him. So all right, we'll give him a bath.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
Exactly right. But now most guys, you harness them, bridle them, hook them the same day.
And it's like they don't give you that resistance because they've been handled by all these
I
farms.
think so. Yes, exactly right.
Was that a move by the farms to make their yearlings more viable? Because hey, I don't have to waste a couple weeks. They could
I
just
yeah,
rock and roll.
I think I don't know if they do. I know on purpose, but I know like for instance this Thompson Hanover that we bought. We gave 20 for her, and I couldn't figure out why, but she did not show well at the farm. She kicked and didn't like to be touched. And even when we got her home here, she was tough to break,
Hmm.
and she could. But now everything's cool with her. But and I think that did affect her price because guys are just like,
When you see 99 horses and they're all run out to the field, walk here, do this, and then the one sticks out, either the value shoots way up high or
right,
way down low, right?
yeah, and I think that hurt her because even when I looked at her at Hanover, every leg I touched, she'd try to stick in my
Hmm.
face, and she's just tough that way. She was just wasn't anything they did. It's just she was a tough one.
Listen, they all can't be perfect, right?
Exactly,
So
just like kids.
yeah. Do you like the tough ones, or at this point you're like, well, it is what it is, but I'd prefer not to have.
I want it as easy as
We want it
possible.
as easy as possible, smooth sailing, nice and
Exactly.
easy.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to this year?
Well, the babies, of course, and you always look forward to that, and
Hmm.
and I think that's when I get most nervous. Is that we race the baby races right here at Gateway.
Hmm.
It's like 6 7 months of work all coming together. And you want things to start. It's not definitive, but you want things to start off on the right foot. And I'm looking forward to racing like Photo Bomber Hanover. He showed he's going to be a pretty good horse, and
He's 4 now, right?
he's 4. He's
Yep.
got to graduate. He got
Hmm.
kind of a rough trip last week, So we hope with better trips he'll compete with those horses.
Just blame the driver.
Yeah,
Just blame the driver,
I tell
right?
you what, she did after that one,
Yeah.
and
Moira did. Moira did. Yeah, there we go.
she was. But
She had the wife cap on again, right?
yes, and
Lots
I
of
always look.
expletives and
I always look forward to racing betting exchange anytime. And, I like my trotters, but Mississippi Storm as well. And hopefully you know. And we have one nice 3-year-old filly, Zulu Warrior Hanover. I thought she trained really well last year, but was kind of on the small side. And she's grown up a little bit, and she has 2 wins and a second her first 3 starts this year. So we'll see how far she can go, too. So. But they're nice horses. Even I don't even mind if they're cheap horses. If they're consistent and they race good, I don't care if it's freehold or
they do their
wherever.
job, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do their
It
job. Who
makes
I
your it
name,
makes
by
your
the way.
job easier.
Exactly.
Last question. The Hambletonian is at this point, it's a race you have to point to. Is that
Yeah,
fair to say?
I would say so. Yes,
You
for
know,
sure.
now, which means, very rarely. I mean, yes, there's a He's Watching that you buy for 3,500.
Right.
A Keystone Velocity that was a $3,000 yearling. Things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But they don't pop up very often.
No.
Most of the horses that are winning these big stakes races are well bred. They're big purchase yearlings. They're stables that are training. I'm not saying big stables, but you have to train. Take Mary Marauder. They trained that horse for the Hambletonian
Right.
to
Right.
win that race.
For
They,
sure.
he was a Muscle Hill, things like that.
Right.
Is 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 the Hambletonian on your radar, and what's a race that you haven't won that you're going to say, all right, I'm pointing to that over the next couple of years?
Well, of course, I'd like to win the Hambletonian uh, or Breeders' Crown. Do you point to them? I don't. I think we kind of did with Possess Fashion
Okay.
and Fashion Creditor, but I was never confident they were that caliber. Horse.
It was just notch below, right?
Yeah, well, if things go right, the
Right.
horse gets good. If maybe the best ones aren't as good that particular day, we'll get into the final and
Right.
anything can happen. And there is something to be said just to getting to that
Sure.
race, but you
Absolutely.
like to do well in it also. So, yeah, I think that it's really with the babies, it's a numbers game. The bigger barns are going to kind of weed out the marginal ones and the average ones and zero in on their top ones. And they probably spent some good money for those horses too. So,
Is there a race that you're gonna try to point towards, like with
the
the?
Yonkers Trot,
Okay, so
and
that's the one.
I would say that one, yes.
Have you
And
won it before?
no,
Okay.
no, we have not.
What's the biggest purse race you've won?
I think it had to be the that we won was the New York Sire Stakes final. That
Okay.
was 250, and we were second with a horse in the racing 2-year-old Payson race in Canada.
The Metro.
The Metro, yes, with
Okay.
the horse named March Standing. I think we got about 220,000 for that.
Which was better, finishing second and or winning that Sire Six final?
Winning.
Winning's always better, right?
I think so.
It doesn't hurt when you get that second place Metro
And you know what?
check.
No, absolutely
Doesn't
not. That
hurt
was
you.
again.
Wiping your tears with the check. $100 bills, right?
The Sire Stake final we kind of expected to win. We
Okay.
thought we were the best horse in there. The Metro, we thought,
We'll see what happens.
right,
Do
there's
you
three or
like
four.
do you like going into a race as the best, puffing out your chest, saying, I got to do my job all week. I did my job. The horse goes out and wins, and boom? Or do you like sneaking up on people and saying, hey, if things go right, I'm gonna get you?
No, I'd much rather be confident a horse.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, when betting exchange won last Sunday, he was like 20-1 on the board start. I said that Brett Miller he'll win this.
You
I was certain he would win that race.
so you like being confident. That's the most.
Absolutely. I mean, and because everything's got there's no stress. They've trained right,
Hmm.
sound, had a good week, drew decent.
You
We
don't
got
care
good
about the other
driver.
barns or the other horses or the other drivers. You're like, I did my job. He's the best horse.
Yeah, well, you know who you're in against, and
Right.
I felt in that particular race, it was just an overnight, but he was the best horse in there. I was pretty confident of that.
Sure. So overall, we'll point towards the Yonkers Trot and some of these other
Yeah,
things, and
Yonkers
yeah,
Trot, and the PA Sire Stakes,
yeah,
and we'll see how it
we'll
goes.
see how it goes. All right. Thank you, Tom.
All right, thank you.